Hello all. We will continue with share screening. Okay. So we were talking about guerrilla marketing, and I want to add some things. So generally, pros of guerrilla marketing uh, are they are cheap to execute. They allow for creative thinking, and you know what your players will think when you can produce creative advertisements. They will be thinking, oh, this team is really creative, maybe I should try out their game. A good example I can give is peak games advertisements. Do you remember that? uh,
No.
yeah.
No.
Okay. This this advertisements was publicly released for every television channel at the same time, and they made it look like they hacked the channel. Uh, so they basically the ad. Actually, let me see if I can find the ad so that I don't ruin it. Um, okay. Oh, it's too long, but let me show you the start of it.
Hayatta karşınıza neler çıkacağını asla bilemezsiniz. Ama sigorta şirketinizin her zaman yanınızda olduğunu çok iyi bilin.
Hatırlıyorum bunu ben.
So after this ad, so basically after this ad, I have decided to uh, apply for this company. I remember getting so hyped up, and uh, I wanted to wait before applying to ask my friend who is working there for advice. And I waited for one day, and I called the guy, and he said that, oh, you are too late. There are 20,000 applicants already. And this was a great campaign for two reasons. First of all, they made sure that their brand is known, because even after this 3-minute ad, media talked about this advertisement, and game websites also talked about these ads. So they made a continuing effect. They had a great continuing effect, and they made sure that they are reaching out to the best quality of developers or marketers, etc. And they made sure that their brand is known by everyone, and everyone likes to try out products of a known brand, and everyone also likes to work on a known under the name of a known brand. So these are great, and the flow of this advertisements was, it's actually unfortunately a copy of another advertisement. The advertisement agency copied this ad from another ads campaign, but even that flow is talked on the media, so even that worked for the Peak Games. And PR team of Peak Games released a letter saying that they had no intention of stealing other people's work, and the agency was the faulty party in this uh, stealing of an idea part. So okay, um, yeah, um, this is not a guerrilla marketing strategy, of course, but I'm not sure actually. This is probably cheaper and one shot strategy. I'm not sure if it's good or not, but it can be cheaper actually, since you are doing it for one time only, and it's grows with word of mouth. Uh, I mean, I'm talking about guerrilla marketing in general now, um, and publicity can snowball. And cons of guerrilla marketing is mysterious messages can be misunderstood. So a general marketing strategy is having a uh, clear goal and clear way of making people understand this goal, and you may be failing to do that. And some forms of guerrilla marketing can result in tension with authorities. You may face unpredicted obstacles, such as, um, since they are reliant on um actually communicating with a group of people. Uh, Bad weather, changed timing of events can hurt your campaign, and it can have a potential backlash. Uh, so if your audience doesn't approve your way of marketing, they may, like, this may backfire. Fire. Okay, what else? I realized that I'm going into the topic of marketing itself um, rather than the budgeting part of marketing. So I will wrap up. But in general, you can reduce your marketing costs by using Discord, Twitch, and Reddit's presence for your advantage. You can also reduce your costs for by using a targeted marketing strategy. So if you spend your money wisely to the audience that wants to uh, try your game genre, you may spend less money to acquire new players. Okay, so yeah, I will talk about those other points in the future. But this is all for marketing costs. Yeah, and two more things I should say. Sometimes your marketing, actually most of the time, your marketing strategy will rely on uh, your game genre. Actually, let me see if, sorry, let me check chats. So if anyone wants to come, I can see. Okay, no one wants to come. Yeah, so I was talking about your marketing strategy will depend on your game genre. So if you have a multiplayer game, let's say, you will need a player base that's are playing your game I don't know, every game every week. So you will need a loyal player base, and you will also need to have a great number of players, so that matchmaking will be fast, and uh, your game um, can be spread with the word of mouth. Um, if enough people are playing, more people will come naturally. But if you have a hyper casual game, then you will be you will not be caring about loyalty that much, and you will basically try to acquire new users as cheap as possible. Uh, oh, okay. And while talking about salaries, I forgot to add something when we're talking about salary expenses. So when you're talking about um, salaries, you will uh, be facing you will be arriving at a point where you need to decide if you have hired enough team members to develop your game in a uh, in a I don't know um, what was makul in English, but in a good time, I should say, in a acceptable time. So if you hire too few people for your game, then you will not meet your deadlines. You will be dependent on your employees, and your employees will be more likely to either quit since they are really stressed out with all the work, or they will also unfortunately be encouraged to switch jobs. So you won't want to hire out too few people, but you will also be residents about hiring too many people, because if you hire too many people, with everyone you add to the team, you will um, have to make sure that every connection between every team member is um, in a good fashion, and uh, every new team member adds so many lines of connections. So if you have 6 people already in your team, if you add a seventh person, then you increase the number of connections by 6. If you add another person, you add 7 more connections, and um, this can result in a connection issue, communication issue, I mean, and you will be required to manage everyone is on the same page, either by documentation or regular meetings. And if it's always easier to do it with a smaller team, so you will need to find an optimum amount of workers, and also uh, actually your amount, your um, how big your team will affect how fast you will develop the game, obviously. And if you too long wait for too long, then the market necessities may change, uh, and let's say that you have developed your game after 5 years, then perhaps I don't know, you have developed it for PlayStation 4. Maybe PlayStation 5 may get released, and uh, other problems may also arise. If time is longer, then uh, risk also increases. People may quit your company. I don't know. Global pandemic can happen. or stuff like that, foreseeable problems. So I'm not saying that every game should take around 2 years, but if possible, to reduce risk, you will need to, um, I don't know, you will need to publish it in an acceptable time. And uh, while doing that, you don't want to increase your team members team member count too much. So everyone can work in an agile fashion. I have talked about agile development methodologies in the last lecture, so you can check that out. Uh, as a summary, agile methods work best when you have a smaller team, at most for 7 people at most. Okay, that's enough for salary and marketing. Another big expense you need to uh, face is hardware costs. So you basically need to buy uh, uh, either PCs, personal computers, or MacBooks. You will unfortunately probably need to buy MacBooks for your team because it's really hard to publish an iOS game without a MacBook ready. And uh, I mean, MacBooks are, as you know, generally more expensive, unfortunately. So you need to take this expense into account. I have seen cases where employers are, um, I don't know, where employers are going sad when you say that you don't have a MacBook available. If they don't plan to provide a computer for a software development project, then I would be really hesitant to work there, because this is the most basic expense that you need to take into account if you are not as a game producer or as a investor for hardware cost from the get-go. Then I would be really hesitant to work with you, I would say. And even if you don't um, plan to give out MacBooks, then you need, I mean, personal computers are not that cheap either. So uh, I mean, you need, if especially if you are using your computers or MacBooks for as a local server, then you need to be able to purchase a really high quality computer. And uh, basically you will be um, comparing the benefits with using cloud server. So if you decide your local server cost will be really high, you may want to see cloud server possibilities so that you can reduce the cost this way maybe. And as another pro tip, uh, you need to consider renewing your hardware. I don't know, once every 4 years or so. And what to do with your old uh, MacBooks? You may refurbish those um, to, I mean, after you renewed uh, all your workers' MacBooks, you can either refurbish uh, the old ones uh, together. So you can talk to I don't know, second-hand MacBook seller, and you can sell your old hardware to those. And companies are doing this for MacBooks and cars and some stuff like that. So you may need to consider that. And also, you can also sell your existing MacBooks to the people that are leaving your company. So in general, if not in general, but in some companies, when you are leaving from the company, they offer you, if you want to buy your computer that you are using, and most people say yes. So this way, companies are able to buy a brand new computer for their brand new team member. Let me just drink some water. Any questions so far, by the way? I'm feeling like I'm talking too much, especially when I'm getting towards you. Okay. And another consideration when you're planning out your budget is office space. So there are different approaches when you're planning out where you will be developing your game. I mean, in most cases, open office is the way to go. But the misconception with open office goes like this. In I mean, 50 years before today, basically people were working on their own rooms, and they were really separated from each other. And an architect decided to increase communication by putting everyone in an open office, open environments without walls, or with some walls, but not not high enough walls to. I mean, it's something like this. So you the height is around this, so you can work without showing yourself if you want to, but also you can raise your head and talk to other people if you need to. So the idea worked great. It really increased communication. It's really increased responsibility. When people are in an open environment, they feel the need to work effectively. So this was a good idea. But then, unfortunately, companies treated this concept really poorly. So they really moved people close to each other, and especially in techno cities like techno camps or techno park, the space is really small. So when you need to add a new member to the group, you unfortunately need to reduce everyone's space. And after some point, open office environments hurts the development process, because it reduces the productivity level of everyone. If you don't have a personal space, then you are not working as effectively as you could work. So open office is a general go-to idea, but these days it's abused, and as a result, it reduces the productivity. And remote work is another concept. We talk about a lot during this global pandemic. Even before pandemic, there were companies, especially in Istanbul, that lets you work 1 or 2 days from your home. This is extremely beneficial, especially in Istanbul, because people are spending too much time when they're commuting to work. They spend 1 or 2 hours to go to work, and they spend around the same time to go back to their home. And it results in poor performance because they are really tired, especially if they're using public transport. So even before pandemic, this was a right that companies offered, so that they can persuade team members to work for them easier. And now it's like almost every company is getting used to remote work. Company owners and investors are seeing that work can be done remotely. Personally, I think that this is good, but in an if it's employed in a hybrid fashion. So as a new member, I would like to see my coworkers from time to time, each week, perhaps 3 days each week, to increase the empathy, increase the communication, uh, and to socialize with other people. This is a humane necessity. But I also agree to the points where the the commute takes away productivity. So yeah, I say around 2 days of remote work and around 3 days of office work is probably the optimum, but it's debatable, of course. But studies have shown that uh, you know remote work doesn't take away productivity. So you should not be, as a game producer, you shouldn't be fearful towards remote work. And as another consideration, uh, you if you don't want to spend too much money for an office, you may also rent a workspace for your small team. There are um, there are services that let you hire out some seats, and basically it's an open office, but people from different companies are working at this open office, and you can also use the meeting rooms and toilets, etc. And it's a lot cheaper to rent an office like this. So if I were to uh, have a startup tomorrow, uh, my my go-to approach would be 5 days of remote work for everyone because of the global pandemic. But if global pandemic wasn't the case, I would probably make my team come to work 3 days and remote work for 2 days or something like that. And I wouldn't rent a office just for 3 days of working together. I would have probably rented um, for like 3 days from a workstation. So people would be coming to a big open office that is shared with other companies. And often this is a strategy that startups use. So each company's dynamic are different. So yeah. Another things that you should take into account if you have decided to rent out your own office, you can, yeah, you need to pay out electricity and water bills, obviously, and you need to think about furniture. You may be wanting to add some foosball tables. This is a startup cliche. Every new company these days has to have a foosball table to look funny. And um, I don't know if you want to go against this cliche or go with this cliche. So this is debatable. It's a bit cringy at times, but it's also funny too. I don't know. This is your choice. Uh, and another consideration is snacks. So let me check the chat. So you want to play safe voids, I guess. I don't know. So you want to play some game and okay. Uh, I'm not sure. We generally have 2 hours of 2 hours of lectures. So I suggest. I mean, you already have skipped, I don't know, 3 weeks of lecture. So I don't suggest you to skip this one either. Okay, yeah. Another consideration is snacks. In general, human resources department have concluded that if they give out snacks regularly, then people will stick uh, staying in the office more, and they won't go outside and buy things, buy things, needed snacks. So people will work more. So you can go with this approach, but this results in, I don't know, couch potato situation also, where people are not moving even to get some snacks or even to get some food. Yeah, these are ethically debatable things. And of course, you need to think about other software. So basically, other software includes system as a service tools. So system as a service softwares are softwares where you use to increase your productivity and increase your workflow. So almost everything that I will be talking about will, I mean, can be considered as a system as a software tool, SaaS for short. If you want to use a cloud computing service instead of a local server, you need to add this subscription to your expense list. Popular ones are Firebase, Azure Workstation, and there are others as well. You may increase your workflow by purchasing from Unity Asset Store, or I mean, asset stores in general can help your workflow. You can avoid working on an graphical user interface by just spending $20 or something like that. And you can add a popular service to your game easily by spending, I don't know, $20, $30. It's I mean, it's something you need to check out when you're deciding to make your developers work on something, or when you're deciding to use a already made product. You may also use open libraries to reduce licensing costs, but be aware that uh, not every open library is going to help with your workflow. Some will actually hurt your workflow. And for instance, Visual Studio is a free Microsoft software, and it's high quality actually. But uh, Rider is a paid version to do not a paid version, but Rider is a paid software to do the same job, and it does the job better. So if you enable your developers to work faster and work more efficiently, you will benefit from that. So I believe you need to listen out your developers when you're choosing which softwares you will use. And also you need to have a way to communicate uh, with your team members. Your communication methods should include voice chatting, video chatting, and text messaging. A great tool for that is Slack. Slack also has a um, integration with GitHub. So Slack can basically publish when a new version of your game is available, or some things like that are available in Slack. And Slack also supports screen sharing, so it's a great uh, way to publish your work. And another useful tool that we have talked in detail is ClickUp. You can use a planning tool like ClickUp or Hack&Plan to increase your workflow and as a mean to communicate better. I also suggest you to have another secondary app ready to communicate if there's a bug with Slack, especially these days, since there are many people using Slack. There are bugs regularly, so we often use Discord to mitigate that. And um, there's an ethical debate for task trackers like Time Doctor. So I'm not sure if I haven't done my research on task trackers, but maybe you want to track your employees, especially when they're doing remote work. So you may use task trackers for that. And if that's what you want, then you will need to pay out for these kinds of softwares. So we are going to have a 10 minutes break again, and we will talk more about example softwares that you can use to increase your workflow. See you.